Hey people, welcome to the channel. It's Kieran here. We are in Durban. I am down on the waterfront Saturday morning. Just been to Park Run. Just seen all the big groups of runners, pace groups for tomorrow's Comrades coming along here in their massive groups of hundreds, 150 runners, dancing, singing, blowing whistles. It's absolutely electric down here. It's one of the most magic moments of the Comrades to come and see this. Tomorrow we are going to run. It's quite warm already today. It's about 9 o'clock. And yeah, before we get into that, I'm going to give you a quick whip through of the kit that I'm going to take to run the race tomorrow. So let's get into that. So then I'm back in the hotel room. I'm going to whip you through all of the kit that I've got for the Comrades that I'm going to be running in and using back here. I'm going to do it really quickly. I'm going to try and do it in one take whilst talking. Let's get straight into it. So first up, on my bottom layer, I've got the CXP Endure XP. These are some super nice running undies, lightweight, chafe-free, flat seams, belt doesn't cut in, super. These are brilliant anti-chafe. On top of that, I'm going to layer these seam out twin shorts. They have got a built-in belt, lots of pocket space. Use them to run the Danube. They're a bit heavy, so they can be a bit hot, but the storage is well worth it. That's going to give me lots of room for capacity for all of my gels and bits and bobs. Socks. Stance, Perform socks, running these loads, guaranteed comfort, no blisters, bankers basically those. I always run in a base layer, even though it's hot, that's just the way I roll. I'm gonna run in this. This is a Innovate super lightweight base layer tee. It's so soft. Again, I use this along the Danube in the heat there, and it's just my go-to, no chafe. I've used it for so many races. This one is going on. That's the Innovate base layer tee. On top of that, I'm gonna layer on this regular Innovate run t-shirt. Nice and lightweight, good sweat wicking, lots of kind of permeable bits in the back paneling. So that might be a bit heavy. If that gets too heavy, that might come off during the race and I'll just rely on the base layer tee. But that's going on to start with to keep me warm. Now, speaking of before the race, it's going to be 5 a.m. when we set off, 5:30. It's going to be cold in the pens to begin with. So you need an extra layer out there. I've got two things that are going to help me with that. I've got this Montaigne Pertex Quantum jacket. It is so lightweight. It's really thin, but it will take the edge off the wind. This guy will pack down into my belt. I also got these freebie arm sleeves that came in the goodie bag for the Comrades. I'm going to have those on for extra protection before the race. They'll come off and I'll give them away on the route, but that's a nice one just to keep you warm before you start. I've got some really old gloves. They've got lots of holes in them. These will be used just to keep my hands warm for the start, and I'll ditch them as well along the route. A couple of buffs, UTMB buff. I've never done the UTMB, but I've watched the UTMB. When I picked this buff up that year, I stood there and watched all of the people coming in from that epic race, and it's a good memory of all the hard work that I saw from those people out there on the course, and the determination and just the sheer will to get to the finish line. So when I look down and see this, it gives me a little reminder of how hard you can work in order to reach a goal. I've got the other buff, which is one that I bought at the expo. Comrades cap. You're not allowed to wear caps with their logos. This is the cap that you have to wear to run. That one will be going on tomorrow. This is actually the one that I finished last year's race in, that my son gave me, so I'm going to be wearing that one again. Let's talk about watches. I'll probably be wearing 2 watches, maybe even 3. These are the primary 2. I've got the Polar Vantage V3. I've got the Polar Grit X2 Pro. I'll be wearing both of those because they have the battery life to last, but also I want to do a side-by-side test of those over on the Run Testers. I may also have the Garmin Enduro strapped to a belt, and also the Coros Vertix 2S, just for comparison. Always testing, so that's important. Now let's talk about the other stuff, the stuff that foot care, protection, anti-chafe, all of that kind of stuff. So I will be powdering on some of this 2 Toms blister shield into my socks on my feet. This stuff is like a sort of special talc. It creates a friction-free barrier around your feet, lets moisture out, but doesn't let it back in. So it's good for preventing blisters and keeping feet nice and dry and happy. I've also got my tried and trusted anti-chafe. Got 2 Tom Sport Shield here. That will be going all over the important bits, the soft bits, to prevent the chafe. Apply that once and it lasts the race. This stuff, I love it. It's not too oily, it doesn't mark clothes, but it does the job brilliantly. I've got these Sidus gel toe cap protectors. Some of you on the channel might know I have a little problem with my little toes where they grumble if I run on them for too long. They basically get dehooded and all kinds of madness happens. These gel toe separators, so I'm going to try those out on the race as well. I've used them in training, but I'm going to use them for the first time on a really long race to see if they work with one eye on the Berlin Wall 100 miler later. For sun protection, I would regularly often use P20, which is a brilliant one application, no grease, doesn't run in the eyes, doesn't sting. This life jacket sun protection spray, 50 SPF, and it does exactly the same pretty much as P20. It's another good one, it's another reliable one. I've used that as well, and that will make sure that old pale here doesn't get too toasty burnt in the sunshine. That will be going all over the old hat for it, just in case the hat comes off at any point. So that's the sun cream. One other thing I'm going to be taking is this. I've got one soft flask. I'm going to find somewhere to stash that, and I'll tell you why in a second when I go into the fuel, but essentially this is going to be the way that I get some electrolytes on board. I can fill up with water and carry it for a bit empty and then pop it away again. But this is how I'm going to use my electrolyte tablets in this. For the rest of the time, the aid stations are every like 2Ks, so you can get water and stuff off the aid stations with no trouble at all. You don't need to run with an ultra vest in this race. You can just hit those aid stations and be well fueled and well hydrated. Speaking of which though, I am going to take some of the things that I really like to eat myself along the way. You know, some of those tried and tested, reliable sources of carbohydrates and bits and bobs. So let me take you through that right now really quickly. For hydration and electrolytes, I'm going to be using a mixture of Precision Hydration's 1500s and these 1000 sachets. I use the sachets, not the tablets, because the tablets, when they're in the tubes, can bounce up and down and get a bit beaten up. I've also got some Veloforte Attivo and Vivo, just for a little bit of a flavor change in case I want those. Those are a little bit fresher than the Precision, really nice counterpoint. I've also got some salt tablets from Precision, which I'm going to take just in case this stuff gets hard to get down and I need to get more salt in. I will have a couple of these in my pocket as a backup. So here we go. When it comes to fueling, I'm going to take 4 of these Precision Fuel and Hydration 90 gram carb pouches. Again, neutral flavored, easy to get down. Don't leave the mouthful too chlorey. You can seal them again so you can take little bits instead of doing it all in one go. And yeah, a lot of carbs in 4 pouches, and that, along with what I'll eat off the aid stations, bananas and oranges, will serve me right. I'm going to take a few of these cubes that they've got their chews from Precision Fuel and Hydration as well. 30 grams of carbs in each one of these little packets. Again, just an option to change up the textures and the flavors, and yeah, just different ways to get those carbohydrates on board when you get bored of eating the gels or the bananas won't go down anymore. You've got somewhere else to go. For that very same reason, I also have some Veloforte Amaro energy chews. These are really nice, good counterpoint for flavor. I've got some new Lucho Delitos in the new flavor, which I've forgotten what they are, but I'm going to be testing those out as well. These are like basically hard blocks of sugary jam. That's going to be another taste change up. And I've got a couple of Veloforte gels, and I've got one Vala gel. Again, always take a Vala gel, date-based, really tasty. Just a nice change of flavors and a change of pace when you want something that's a bit different. So all of that will be out there. I might not eat it all. I will have most of it carried with me. And that is how I'm going to fuel along with what goes on in the aid station. The one final thing I've got are these. They were sent to me. They're called Energy Bites. These caffeine sweets, which I might save for later into the race in case I really need a kick in the pants. We'll give those a go as well. They're only tiny, so in terms of testing something new on race day, I'm not too bothered about that. I think they'll be fine. Oh, and one final thing, the all-important thing. If you've watched the Run Testers video, you'll know what the shoes are that I'm going to run in. This is going to be a bit of a surprise to some people because they weren't my favorite shoe and I tested them for the Run Testers, but I've had a bit of an Achilles grumble, so I have now had to choose a shoe that isn't rubbing up against my Achilles. And the shoe that I'm going to run the Comrades 2024 in, it's not the Saucony Endorphin, it's not the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, it's not any of the carbon plated shoes, it is the On Cloud Monster Hyper. Now, the reasons behind this, beyond the fact that these heels don't rub my Achilles, is also that you've got lots and lots of cushioning. There is a bit of energy coming from that forefoot where you've got the Peebo wedge in the front, but they are also really, really roomy. There's loads of wiggle room across the top of the toe box and towards the end. These are going to be good for no threat of sort of toe bashing, any of those kind of black toenail stuff. And I think they're just going to soak up the impact of the road really nicely. They're also quite lightweight really for the heft of the shoe. They might not be the fastest shoes to go and do something like this in, but I think for the pace I'm going to be running and the hills and all of that, the combination of the terrain, I think these are hopefully going to do a good job. But also, I know that they work with that Achilles, so that was one of the main reasons to get them. So there you have it. That has been a really quick hotel room whip through of my kit, light on detail in terms of what the technical stuff with all the clothing and stuff is, but I will put links in the caption below. And if you're interested, you want to know any more about those, just ask me. I'm happy to provide details. These are all things that I've used a lot in the past. I know they work, I trust them, and I figure they'll do a good job for me again out here. So I really rate them. All of the things I've said here, I would happily recommend to anyone as something to look at. Obviously, your own kit works for you. What works for me might not work for you, but I love these things and I think they do a job that they're supposed to do. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. If you're doing an ultra, you want to know about kit, this may be a good place to start to have a look at a few things. I am now off to sort all that kit out and get it ready for tomorrow. We are very nearly getting towards time to try and go to sleep, although there probably won't be any. I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that I saw today, came over and talked to me. So many people out there came over and you're all amazing. I loved hearing about your stories. To everyone I've met who's running tomorrow, who came and wished me good luck, all the best of luck out there on the route. Come and say hello again if you see me. And to all the other runners doing the Comrades, this is such a fantastic, amazing, incredible event. It just blows me away, the electricity of the whole thing. And I wish you all the best of luck, everyone. Let's go do it. We'll see you on the other side. Happy running out there, people.